Oh, now it says record.
And we are live. And I would like to welcome everybody. And today is really a very special day for me. It's always a special day when I can talk with Barbara Weltman. That makes it special. But it's extra special today because I just launched a new page, davidfleopold.com, and you are going to be the first video on that page.
Great.
Barbara and I, just a little bit of history. Barbara and I have been live streaming on the internet. This is our 14th year of
I
live,
know, hard to believe.
and she and I have gone through more video technologies, I think, than anybody has, just because of how long we've been doing it. And I'm very blessed to have Barbara Weltman as a friend. What I do in my life, she is the expert at what I do in my life. So that was a marriage made in heaven, I think, Barbara.
It was good.
So the first question that I would like to ask, I don't know, it's a tough one. There's a lot of craziness going on in the world right now. I don't have to tell you that. And ever since they started throwing the R word around, I've been kind of observing people's behavior and trying to figure out. I really think the R word is more of a state of mind than anything else. But I would like you to share your definition of recession.
Well, I subscribe to the traditional definition of two quarters of down GDP. There is an alternative definition of economic contraction, and we've seen that too. So I think by either definition, we are in a recession, and not calling it one doesn't change the facts. But with that said, not everybody, not every industry, not every business is experiencing the effects of a recession. And
Okay,
I think that's where we kind of go off the rails.
and that is going to segue actually into my next question, where we're going to take a commercial break so you can share what your daughter Laura is doing, and because I want you to share with the world what you are telling your daughter to do in these times. And then if you're telling your daughter, everybody it's got to be good information. So have you had that discussion with Laura yet?
Okay. First of all, her name is Leah, not
Oh,
Laura.
I'm sorry, Leah.
That's okay. That's okay. And she has a wellness box business, which she sells remotely. But she's in transition now because she's relocating. So it's real hard to run a business and relocate at the same time. So she's having a massive sale right now, moving her remaining inventory with her, and then reassessing what she's going to do with her business going forward.
Well, it reminded me because I got an email from her yesterday, and now
With the sale.
you've explained why I got the email yesterday.
Right.
She's coming to
So
Florida? She can move.
no, she's moving to Maine.
Wow.
She's moving to Maine. I'm going to be one of the only people that can say I have a daughter in each Portland, Portland, Maine, and Portland, Oregon.
That is wow. I thought I had it bad. You've got it. Okay, so are you giving her some business advice in terms of what she'd be doing or how she should be handling it, or
well, at this point, no, things are sort of on hold for her. But
okay.
with respect to other businesses, there's lots of advice to be given on what to do if we are in or about to be or coming out of, or however you think you are with respect to recession. There are strategies to use, certainly, to optimize your business. And we face certain unique challenges right now with extreme inflation, although you and I remember the double-digit inflation of the 70s and 80s, and this is like kindergarten compared to what we went through.
I was
So
actually dealing with my father's what estate, and the interest rate became a really, really big consideration, and I was fighting with a bank for a couple of years over the whole thing. But yes, we do. We've gone through a lot of different transitions.
exactly. So this is just this is just part of the economic cycles of, there are booms and busts, and we just kind of have to ride the waves as things go up and down. But again, we have high inflation, we have rising interest rates, we still have supply chain challenges. There were no eggs on the shelf in my supermarket the other day. Eggs.
Wow.
There are still labor challenges for employees, and especially for small businesses, challenges in pay. And remember, the more you pay in employment taxes. So it's not just the pay that you pay, but it's the pay, the benefits, the taxes, the insurance, and all of that. So certainly there are a lot of challenges, but there are solutions. And I think that's what we have to kind of focus on, is what actions should you be taking now to help your business.
Would you like to answer that question?
Sure. So clearly, I think it's highly advisable, to the extent that you can, to pay down debt and not incur more debt. So if you have lines of credit, you want to pay them down. You probably don't want to pay them off, because the lenders want you to be using your credit line. But if you have credit card debt, and many small business owners do, that's certainly one of the first places you want to attack, because not only is it a real drain on cash flow, but it's just the interest rates that you pay on credit card debt is just ridiculous. You don't need the travel miles that much to be charging things. So I think that's a big thing. Another area that you really need to watch now more careful. You're always going to watch it, but I think you have to be extra cautious now with respect to any inventory that you have, and reordering. You have to look ahead and say, well, what's going to be the need? And I always like to use the Goldilocks analysis, that you want to have enough on hand to satisfy customer needs, but you don't want to have too much on hand to tie up your cash and perhaps have unsaleable items. So you want to be just right. And so that's another area that you want to be very cautious about. Another thing is pricing. Let's face it, if you're paying more for everything, you have to raise prices. And I know small businesses all around me are raising prices. In fact, I was at a restaurant last week which had a sign saying, "We reserved the right to raise prices without any notice, due to our having to pay more."
Is that a required disclaimer in Florida?
No, but I guess they haven't changed. They didn't necessarily print new menus, and so that's kind of what's going on. So that's something. And I just think you have to just be more frugal with everything. I mean, maybe now, while there are significant tax breaks for buying new equipment, if you need something, maybe now's the time. Maybe you just want to repair now rather than purchase, and limit what your outflow is. I mean, and then not incur debt for major purchases and things like that. So I think there are a lot of actions you can take that are they're always good policy, but I think they become acute during periods of recession.
If you don't mind, I would like to share 2 of your books. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course. You think?
Okay, this is Barbara's book that I think this year, I think last year you told me this was the 25th edition, and this year.
So the 2022 is out, and I'm working on 2023 already.
Well, we haven't done our 2022 discussion.
I think we did. It was kind of Maybe we didn't. I don't recall.
Well,
But
we usually do them in November.
right. So the 2023 will be out in November.
Oh, that's right. So that's the one we'll go. Well, you're right. I guess I grabbed the wrong book. Anyway, Barbara has been doing this book. It is the best. This, I think I paid $25, $22.95 for this.
And if you bought it on Amazon, it was less. So there you
I
go.
didn't have time to buy it on Amazon. I had to run to the bookstore and buy it.
Oh, before our talk, right? Okay.
So, Barbara, she lets you know what the tax. Let me tell you. Well, why don't you tell what the book is about?
Well, most small business owners do work with tax professionals to prepare their returns, perhaps do their accounting, but it's essential for small business owners to know what the tax rules are, because ultimately you have to make your own decisions. The more that you know and the less you have to ask your professionals, it saves you fees, and you just want to stay out of trouble. You want to be doing the right thing. So the buck stops with you, and you should know what the rules are.
I will add my two favorite ways to read the book. Obviously, there's a lot of information that I don't need to put in my brain on this. The tax professional, they need to know every word you've got going in here. But I like to keep the book close at hand and just, I've got a down 10 minutes, just pick it up and open it up to whatever page I open it up to and just read. I guarantee folks will learn something new in that 10 minutes. I guarantee it. The other way I like to read it, if there's a specific thing that I want to know about, I go right to your index, your keyword index, and see where to find the information. And that's how I do it. It's working. Now, the other book that it's unbelievable, the story of this book and how you and I do videos. It was in early 2020. And it was like maybe April of 2020 or May of 2020. And you and I were having a conversation, and we were going to talk about how businesses get going again. And you said, "Oh, David, by the way, I just published this book, Startup Guide by Barbara Weltman." And I have to tell you, this is a must. Not only a startup guide, but if you're in business right now, Barbara has a checklist in there of over 200 things to think about your business. And what a great exercise it is to go through and to actually just read the charts. And if you need more explanation, then go into Barbara's explanation of it. But she was publishing this book at the exact same time that we were going to have the discussion, and the timing was incredible. I love it. Amazon.com, Barbara Weltman. They know Barbara on Amazon. They know her very well. Okay. Where did I read? Was it in today's work-life balance? I think it was just today you were talking about work-life balance in your daily.
I had a blog on work-life balance. I think it was maybe a week ago or whatever. But yeah, my thought was that for small business owners, there's no such thing. That we're really, for small business owners, we have a lifestyle. Work-life balance sort of aims for employees to reduce the number of hours so that they can spend more time on their personal activities. But I think for small business owners, there's a completely different mindset. It's not aimed at reducing hours, because I think your mind is 24/7 on business. I don't care if you're on vacation or a day off or what. Things go through your mind. And I think your goal is not to reduce the hours, but rather to become profitable. I mean, that's your goal. And so I think you have a different mindset than most employees, most W-2 workers. And so I think that's just something to think about, that certainly small business owners want to have time for their personal life. They want to have time to be able to spend with family and friends and exercise and do all those things. But if but they may be forced to make sacrifices that employees wouldn't, that like foregoing a child's school show or baseball game or something because there's a crisis at business. And you know what, I think that that's just the reality, and some people are built for it and some people aren't.
And I'm going to add a personal caveat, the way that I've lived my life, to exactly what you have said right now. 40 out of my 50 years of operation have been in my home. And when you are in your home, it's extremely important that there are understandings about what's going on, because you're in your home and there's other folks probably living there with you. In my lifetime, I did not have very good support at home with what I was doing for whatever the reason, but I continued to do it anyways because it was the right thing for me to be doing. But it's very, very important. The good things that happen with that home work-life balance thing is that your children start to learn principles about business and whatever it is that you're doing. And I'm so proud of my sons. I have two sons that excel in marketing, and I am so proud of the two. And I guess a little bit rubbed off over the years with them. But
Definitely.
Work-life balance is so very important, and there might have to be some written laws and put on the refrigerator.
Well, yeah, I get that. And I think things have changed so much for people working at home. When you and I started working from home, we kind of tried to hide the fact. That wasn't something that you were proud of because people looked at you as kind of unprofessional, like you weren't,
Really?
you know, it wasn't exactly the way to go. And you kind of, you know, tried to, a lot of people used special mailbox addresses so things wouldn't be sent to their home and things like that. And now look post pandemic, how many people are working from home? It's kind of the norm.
And to that point, and here's what's really, really exciting for me and what I'm doing is that there are millions of businesses that are operating in home that we don't know about yet, and they started in the pandemic. And you know, people say, "Wow, I'm doing it at home, and if I can do it at home and make some, what I should be doing this at home and making money for myself." And we don't even know that, and that is great, because we need to have that kind of thinking and that kind of activity going on. We're going to get back into wherever we need to be. There's no question about it. But we've been challenged. In your lifetime, have you seen as many challenges in the last 4 or 5 years that we've seen?
No, it's just been crazy on every front. I mean, you just name it. But there are challenges, but then there are new avenues for dealing with so many challenges. I mean, we didn't back then have internet access. We didn't have mobile phones, and we didn't have all of the tools that we have now to enable us to do so many more things and to deal with so many challenges. I mean, remember the old days, you know, a want ad had to go in the local newspaper. Now, you know, you need something, it goes on the internet. You know, you want to buy something, you get it through the internet. It's just
and that's why, and once again, that's why it's so exciting for me right now. I started my career as a publisher, an old-fashioned publisher, and I'm a publisher today, still today, and it's amazing how more efficiently we can do things today than we did back then. We were friendlier back then than we are today, no question about that. But it's amazing what we're able to do. And I had a friend, real quickly, tell me 3 years ago, she'd been listening to my stories for 15 years in my exercise classes. She said, "David, you need to write a book." And I went home and I actually bought a domain to write the book. And I went back to class the next day or so to her, and I said, "I am not going to do it in the traditional sense of doing a book. I've done it before. I have to do it now in a digital sense. And it's amazing all the things that I'm able to do now that I couldn't even think about doing back then. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Sure.
Okay. Each first of the month, I'm probably one of the first ones to read it of all your followers. You come out with a list of a bunch of a collection of thoughts and ideas and stories that you've written, and appropriately, this is the 2nd of August, and August 1st, technically, you came out with the August one. I picked out 3 things that I would like you to share your ideas with us. What does income mean for tax rules? That was one of your articles.
Oh yeah. Well, we just throw around the term income, but what does it really mean? When it comes to taxes, there are very specific uses for the term. So we have, you have gross income, your revenue, and you have taxable income. That's the amount you figure your tax on. And there are various terms. And that particular blog discussed all the different terms. And we have one of the more recent terms that we've come upon is qualified business income, which is a deduction for owners of pass-through entities and sole proprietors, and it's based on their qualified business income, which is again a unique term. And so it just a question of just understanding that. Like for instance, people who got paycheck protection loans, and then they got forgiveness, the PPP loans, and then they got forgiveness. Well, that income isn't taxable, but it still counts as revenue, and you have to kind of know how all of these things kind of work together. So,
and I'll bet you can find the answer to that question in the book.
Well, you can find the answer in the blog that I have on it for sure. And my newsletter, Big Ideas for Small Business, which comes out once a month, as you said, the first of the month, is a collection of all the blogs. I do 2 blogs a week. I have a number of guest bloggers that submit and post on my site. I have other blogs that I write for other sites throughout the month. And so it's a collection of all of the different blogs that come out monthly.
Okay, a second headline that got my attention was what to do if you fall behind in your tax deposits. There's probably a lot of folks that fall behind in their tax deposits.
Well, certainly don't be an ostrich. Don't put your head in the sand and pretend it's not so, because interest and penalties start to mount, and you can become 100% personally liable for the unpaid taxes. So even though, let's say you have a C corporation, you say, oh, C corporation, it's a corporation, I have personal liability protection. No, if you are a responsible person and you willfully don't deposit your payroll taxes that you've withheld from employees' wages, and willful is not meaning like bad intention, it means like paying the rent instead of depositing the taxes, you're personally liable. They can come after your house and everything else. So you don't want to ignore this. And you do, but the IRS does have options on ways to payment plans and other things. So
and people shouldn't forget about it. And then if you make an agreement with the IRS, as long as you keep the terms that are very friendly, and they'll work with you. If they're trying to meet your obligation, they will work with you. And there are even programs right online that you can use. You don't even have to talk to an agent. You can just set up automatically these payment programs, and so I actually, that's something I did not know, that because there's these companies that are out promoting on television that they deal with the IRS if you got a problem. And
well, yes, they do. But actually, this year the IRS identified the OIC, offer and compromise mills, that a lot of some of them are very legitimate on that advertise, but a lot of them are just there to take your money and do what you could have done yourself easily. So
Okay, and a third title that got my attention: Hidden Traps of Using Remote Workers. And that is obviously a big thing right now as the pandemic took folks in their
sure,
home.
sure. Like your cybersecurity, for example. I mean, that's a biggie. And in fact, I just read oh gee, I think it was from Verizon's most recent report that almost half of small, I think it was 49% or something like that. I don't quote me, of small businesses with remote workers experienced a cyber issue. So that's like,
You might be low on that. You might be,
no,
well,
well, this was their 2022 index. So this was the most recent. So anyway, that's one issue. Another issue is, and people might not think about this, but a lot of the challenges are when remote workers are working in states that are not the same place where the business is located. And then you have challenges with respect to withholding, where are you withholding? And also, are you following the employment laws of the state where the worker is? Because those are the rules that are likely to be controlling. So, if you have a worker you could be in Florida like me and have a worker in California, and I have to follow all the California rules for that worker. And some states have mighty strict rules in terms of benefits and withholding and discrimination. I mean, you can go through all the employment laws that there are on the books, and certainly you have to follow them. And then another issue is just workers' comp related. If somebody's injured in their home, is it a work related injury? And they can make a claim and they can get, but it becomes much more complicated than if it was on site.
wow. I didn't even think about that one. That one's got to be huge.
You bet. You bet. So it's
Well,
I mean, there are a lot. So hidden. That's why I called it hidden. You didn't know.
well,
Hidden from you.
I hope that the owners of the companies are properly protected.
Well,
And
exactly. That they
because
have to carry the workers' comp, but they have to know again which state rules apply and all.
okay, well, that's all I got here. That's all I had.
Great. Okay.
As I said, as soon as I upload this to my YouTube channel, I'll put the URL in various places: davidfleopold.com, dreamingwithentrepreneurs.tv. Do you remember you still have your own authority web landing page in my digital library?
Very good. Very good. And people can find out more about my books and my newsletter and my idea of the day at bigideasforsmallbusiness.com.
Well, I want to thank Barbara. I want to thank you for your time today. No one individual produces more small business information than you. I'm pretty well convinced. The only institution that does that is probably the SBA and SCORE, but they have you as an advisor, so you're all part of that information flow too.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing a SCORE program in September, a SCORE webinar program in September.
What, one session or a couple sessions?
One session.
And what's the title of the session?
It'll probably just be year-end tax planning, because we'll be just entering it's at the end of September someday. Let me see what day. Look at my calendar. September 29th is the SCORE program, and you'll find more about it on my website.
I want to see what your deadline calendar looks like. What does your deadline calendar?
Oh, you don't even want to know. You don't want to know.
No, I do. I do want to know, because
I will tell people, I will fess up that I use a paper calendar. And the reason I do that is that it's in my face every I mean, I have Outlook and all of that
I
stuff,
I did
but
something. I
but
did
I think the old-fashioned paper calendar is in your face all the time.
I did something last night. I loaded 4 videos onto a web landing page, and I could not get my mouse. My mice don't work very well with computers, touchpads. They fight with each other, and the touchpad always wins because it's internal. I could not cut and paste last night like I typically do. So what did I do? I hand wrote the URL from the YouTube, and I typed that in so I got it loaded. And actually, I probably spent less time doing it that way than I did the technology way. But we love small business, don't we, Barbara?
We sure do. And we love the people in small business. The small business community is so supportive of each other and so helpful to each other. And, over and over. And over the years, you and I have just gathered an unbelievable group of associates that we can turn to, talk with. And we know each other personally, professionally, and it's just, and it's great. It's one of the reasons why it's great to be in business.
Well, you didn't use the C word, which I'm going to use right now because it's my favorite thing, and it's a must for small business collaboration. We have to find collaborative partners because we're all in this together. We're all in it together, and we can share knowledge and information and experience, and collaboration is so very important. And I'll talk to you about that later. But an appropriate way to end the broadcast, because you and I, we live it. Do what you love and love what you do. And we'll see you soon.